What is the emotion you think is the most important?
Love. 100%. It's biblical. It's everything, because if that place is there first, and being comfortable expressing it. Like, I think that's really important. And sometimes as men, it's like, you don't do that. I'm like, even now, like, we teach this to our young fathers that come in, because a lot of them really don't have the skill. It's like, I love you. You're really great at this, whatever that is, and I'm proud of you. The older I get, like, and my friends break my chops, I don't care. Like, I tell them I love them. I'm like, how many guys your age that, my age that, oh, we just lost somebody. He had a heart attack. He's gone.
Right. And then never said it.
Right? So I'm like, I want my friends to know how much I love them and I appreciate them and how important they are in my life.
If you were in a room with every person you've ever come across in your life, who would be the person you would seek out in that room?
Wow. You can make me talk about my father again. My father, absolutely. My mom, and my grandfather from Ireland. I would love to seek him out, because I met him once when I was a kid, and my family from Ireland has told me that I am very much like him, which is really weird. Like I said, I look like him. One of his sons said to me, went over and visited years ago, "You're the spit of Jim Holland." So I'm like, I always have that in my mind of that. So whenever I see my cousins on Facebook or whatever, I'll say that, "You're the spit, Jim Holland," and we all get a good laugh out of it. So I would love to have had more time with him. Just how he raised my mom, and there's a whole story about my mother that we can talk about if we want. But he was just such a blessing, because my mom actually had a pregnancy when she was 16 in Ireland in the 50s.
Wow.
Yeah. And my brother-in-law actually wrote a book about it, so we can talk about that another time. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's so cool. My mom.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then 55 years later, we met my sister.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And so what triggered that for me is that my mom's father, my grandfather, was so supportive of my mother in that time. Think about that time in Ireland, that long ago. She was chastised. She was put out. She was just, terrible outcast to the town there. And then my mom bravely gave the baby up for adoption at 18 months old. Came to the United States as like an indentured servant. Whoa. Worked as like a nanny for people in Long Island, and met my dad. Yeah, it's a whole story. I mean, I could talk too much about it, but it's a beautiful story. So I'm sorry that all triggered that, but it's a beautiful story, and the bravery of my mom and my father. My father knew early on in their marriage that my mom had a baby, and he stuck with her.
Look at this.
Yeah, because my mom's mother said, "Don't start your new life together on a lie."
Oh,
and it came around that. Mary, that's our sister. That's my sister, her name. She ended up contacting my mom maybe, 12 years ago, 15 years ago now, something like that. And the best thing, guys, is it's like she grew up in my house.
Wow.
She is my mother at that age. So this whole like nurture versus, nature kind of thing, unbelievable. And she fit in like hand in glove immediately.
Wow.
Yeah, so... new cousins, new family, all that good stuff.
What a gift.
Yeah.
Unbelievable gift. And then the best gift is my wonderful brother-in-law, super smart guy. He ended up interviewing my mom. Once my dad passed away, my mom was really more comfortable about talking about it. Uh-huh. So my brother-in-law was on her for years to try to get her story down on paper. Yeah. Mostly for us as a legacy.
Wow.
Right? And he would interview my mom, and he would double check everything, and he ended up writing this beautiful book. And it's called I Called Her Mary. And it's really, really wonderful. And it's sold pretty well. And
Really?
Yeah.
Can you? I want to get one of that.
I'll get you copies.
Can we get copies?
Yeah, absolutely.
man.
I'll get you copies. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the picture on the front is so haunting. It's my mom and her original passport picture when she was 17.
Oh man.
It's really, really amazing. So sorry, you asked me one question. I told you I'm
sorry.
the talker.
That's why we do this, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right.
We want to.
You said lie. That's why.
I love
This
it.
is
Yeah,
why
I
we
asked
do
you
it.
why. Now I know.
Yeah.
And thank you for letting me
an
talk
amazing
that
story.
through. It's been such a blessing. We've had podcasts about that.
Yeah.
So to your point, to try and market the book and things like that, we had a great podcast at Shortways Barn in Hawthorne, and there had to be 700-800 people show up in Hawthorne.
man.
Because my family, and again, let's just say Hawthorne. All roads lead to Hawthorne.
Hawthorne, New Jersey,
And
baby.
everybody supported us, and the love that we've gotten from it, and it's just been an incredible blessing.
Yeah.
So my grandfather, to answer the question, my grandfather from Ireland, because I wanted to thank him for how amazingly he treated my mom. But my mom just couldn't do it anymore because she was so ostracized by the community. And one more plug for my mom. She never lost her faith in her church, in a religion, even though they treated her poorly.
She never lost.
Never lost her faith. Never.
See, that
Right? Isn't that
there
like
blows
incredible,
my mind.
bro?
Yeah.
My first default would be, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
My mom never, ever sent us to Catholic school, dragged us to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
She would say stuff like, let's just go to church and get it over with.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, because it was all about obligation. So let's go on Saturday night so we can get it over with, And then my dad would be in bed like, pray for me, because he wouldn't get up and come to church. So he's like, I'm done with that stuff. But to my mom's credit, she never lost her faith.
Wow.
Never.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So growing up like that, Jim, with a mother who's got such strong faith and like dragging you, like not, you said it.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm being sarcastic, but yes, it was dragging at certain points.
And like, as a kid, I mean,
Yeah, sure, you don't wanna go,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
Of course.
When you come from such a strong, faithful person that you admire, you have love for this, like you said, legacy that your mother has created for your family. Did you ever hit paths in the road where you've lost your faith, or you've been knocked off of a path of being faithful to God?
It's a great question. It's a really good question. Not really. I was honestly, because I was afraid to. We grew up in a Catholic faith where it was like, you do what you're told. You're not really worthy, right? You just be grateful for whatever you're getting from it, which in some senses was good because it kept you on a good behavior path. Like you had rules to follow and like consequences if you walked outside those, right? So that was a good thing. But the loving part of it was never really there as much, like that God really loves me, even though you kind of knew, it just wasn't really emphasized in that. So again, I'm going to go a little bit. Is that okay?
Go. Gosh.
Because about 10, 12 years ago, had a really strong renewal of my faith in a different way. And I felt guilty about it for a while. I go to a Protestant church now, an evangelical church, and it literally changed my life. My daughter started going to, she's a pretty talented singer, so she started.
Shout out.
Yeah. Oh, she was a really good singer.
Yeah. What's her name?
Her name is Carly.
Carly,
John.
shout out.
She's my little girl who just had a baby, 5 months old. 5 month old. Yeah. So she went to Westchester University, and she's going to this thing on Thursday nights called Crew. It's Crusade for Christ.
Okay.
It's like a thing at school.
Yeah.
So my wife and I were kind of concerned, and we always were like, what the heck's going on? What is this thing? So we went down there on a Thursday night and then drove back the same night. And you go in, and there's 200 kids there praising the Lord, singing, doing Bible study. And I'm like, what the heck's going on here? Nobody dragged these kids here. Thursday night is a night to go out and get hammered, right? And all these kids are here doing this, and my daughter's singing so beautifully, and I'm like, holy smokes, there's something real here. So I kind of opened my eyes a little bit to some different ideas with that. So then my daughter graduates, and she comes home here, and she finds a local church. And she's like, Dad, you guys got to come to this church. You'll love it, I promise. And I'm of the age where, the born-again Christian stuff when I was in high school and college was more like, not really well received. They were very much like, everyone's going to hell unless you do this, this, and this. It was really very much a turnoff at that point.
What was that?
That's like the early 80s, mid 80s.
That's not the revolution, Jesus Revolution thing we're talking though. Different time.
I'm not really sure.
Okay,
I'm not really sure
okay.
about that. I know I got to watch that.
Yeah.
I heard about that. But so I kind of had my guard up with that. So I reluctantly went to these services and like quietly had my dukes up like this, just waiting for them to say something that was going to say, I'm out of here. And it never came.
Wow. Whoa.
It never came. And all of a sudden they're talking about how much God loves you and serving and giving back to the community. And my daughter's is going on these missions trips to the Philippines, helping kids in sex trafficking and stuff.
Wow.
I'm like anxious about that, but I completely understand why.
Yeah.
Because the emphasis of giving back was so strong in that.
Right.
And now my wife and I are like all in for this, and that leads to other stuff that we can talk about a little bit. But so did I lose faith? No, I think I always had it, but I always felt like something was, I guess, a little bit missing. But now I'm so much more passionate about it, and it means, and you said something to me one day, like, it was so kind of you. I don't even know if you remember when we were in the store. He says, where does this come from? Where's your like good spirit come from? He said to me, I'm like, oh, I love this kid that you said that to me. And it's really my faith walk.
Wow.
That's really helped me to be more patient and more outgoing, more loving and all those kinds of things.
How do you find, like, I'm last couple of years I've been on a journey myself of finding God and Christ in that. And I didn't realize how selfish I was my whole life. I felt like I came from a place, being younger, where I felt like I was always lacking. I felt like I didn't quite get what I was hollering for, and then I pursued things for myself in a guise of, it's for others, it's for others, it's for others. And I just mounted year after year of like just trying to store up treasures for myself that would go to moth and rust, right? Like you say. So my question to you is, what is the service like for you in your faith walk? Like, what has it become? What has God told you? Like, this is what, Jim, I need for you to do.
That's awesome. That's a great question again. Okay, I worked in the corporate world in the staffing field for many, many years. It was IT staffing, so finding jobs for people, which sounds great and altruistic in some ways, but it was really an industry that, praise God, I did very well in. I was very fortunate to do it, but it was riddled with greed and sin. It was just nothing about, it's all about margin, all about money, all about getting as much as you can. That was really the only goal. I always kept a good high moral bar in that, and I never fell into it. I could put my head down every night knowing that I did the right thing every day. But I was a sales manager growing teams and trying to get people to think that way like I was. Like I say, I just took a breath in. It literally took a piece of me.
Wow.
It took a piece of my health, my depression and anxiety, and wasn't the dad I should have been. I wasn't the husband I should have been. I walked around angry all the time because I was so anxious all the time because it was all about production, right? And no matter what you did, it was never good enough. And no matter how well you were doing, the people who were running the companies wanted more. And I'm not talking smack. I was really good at it. And I was really good at building strong teams. And I had like my core people, but even when they got the greed gene, it just was like, I don't give a rat about you either, Jim.
Yeah.
I need more money. I need this. I need that. And it just, it took such a piece of me. So sitting in church and hearing the pastor talk about follow your gifts, God will take care of you, like do the right thing. You know what the right thing to do is, follow your gifts. It was just speaking to me in such a way that I'm like, all right, I got to put a time frame on this, that I can't do this anymore. It's going to take me out. So my wife and I, God bless her, we were really diligent on our savings. We had like a long-term plan. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this business my whole life. It's just not going to happen. So we were really smart about our investing and saving and things like that, because it was such a blessing of how well the industry fit for me that I'm like, I have to be a good steward of this. And that was saving. So I had 3 daughters, all went to college. Praise God, they came out with no debt. I hustled my butt off. My wife and I worked really closely together to make sure that they were taken care of in the right way. So, but then now they're all older. 34, 30, 20, 28, 29. So my long-winded answer, I'm sorry. My service was, I work now, actually, I kind of retired from that industry about 2.5 years ago. And I work as a counselor at a pregnancy resource center in Hawthorne.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
So I do counseling. I do some of the men's ministry there at the place there. So, I sold my house. We downsized. We live in a little apartment now. It's just my wife and I. And that was my sort of service move to be like, to make the commitment to jump out of this field where, again, I was doing well, but I was really called to try and do something meaningful. So it was weird. Like COVID was almost this weird blessing in that regard, because thankfully we were good with our home. We had it paid off. We sold it at the top of the market, did really well. So I squirreled that money away. And now we're living in an apartment that, praise God, Judy's mom left it to us when she passed away many years ago. It's funny, when Judy and I were first married, we lived in this house.
And now you're back.
And now we're back full circle.
Wow.
So it's really been an interesting journey, and it's funny. Like I think about it, like God put me on the bus and drove me to Lighthouse. You know what I mean? It's just kind of cleared all the paths for it. And heart to heart, it's hard because I do miss the money.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be lying about that. So there's some fear, but that's when I try my best to lean in my faith there.
Yeah,
and that's where I fail sometimes.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like literally even over the last couple of weeks, I've had a couple of really rough days. Like, why did I do this? I should have just hung in there. We're struggling a little bit financially, all those kind of things just come to the surface every once in a while. And that's when sometimes, like, again, proud of my mom not losing her faith, because sometimes I feel like my faith is can be razor thin.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so those are some of the things. So that's really what's driven me towards that. So that's the answer that you asked me a long time ago when we said we would talk about it someday. Yeah, my faith is really.
What's interesting? To me, this is interesting. I've known you for years, right? And we had brief encounters at the cafe, and I always just had this feeling, like a whisper, like you gotta speak to this guy, man. You gotta make time for this man. Like really, like make time. And it's always been like I said, like you have a light. Like there's something about you to me where I see light in this dude.
So kind.
It's true.
Thank you.
And I told you that. And like now that we're sitting together, I fully relate. But I'm at this stage in my life where I'm like trying to be. It's just so hard.
So hard
to find to walk that line faithfully. Of he did it. Yeah. He said he had all the earthly things you could want. Yeah. And he was getting that check. Like you're saying, you're getting what you wanted. Yep. But it trying to also walk a line the business wants you to walk and not lose who you are at the core of your spirit.
Yep. Yep.
And you sacrificed that, moved back into the apartment you came from. So you humbled yourself. Mm-hmm. It just like that takes a lot of gumption to be able to do that. Yeah. And to serve now in a way that you feel really well at your core, but as a human, you still struggle. 100%. And it takes a lot to say that.
100%. Well, thank you for that. That means the world to me that you said that. And both you guys, I mean, that's what I love about the cafe. It's like, I walk in there and I feel like I'm with family.
Yeah.
I mean it. Like, I remember some of the girls years ago that were, I forget their names now, but they used to call me Dad when I came in there.
Shout out Carly.
Carly. Carly, yes. Who was the other girl? The girl's the photographer.
Juliana.
I love her.
Yeah.
Loved her. Loved all of those girls.
Yeah.
The one just, they always made me feel so good. Like, hey, Dad's here. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, holy smokes. And then I would tell my girls, I'm like, you're not there, Dad. Knock it off. But
that's such a great compliment, honestly.
Well, no, you guys are just so kind in that. So it means like, and I mean this sincerely, like when in my dark times, candidly, I would come in there and feel like refuge.
Oh, wow.
I totally mean that. Like sometimes, and people who are in sales know the pressure that you're under, like to produce and to like perform constantly, and then being responsible for other people's production. And then trying to be that filter from an aggressive boss to them and trying not to let it like immediately run downhill is hard. Like being a manager, if you care, is hard. If you're a manager that doesn't care, it's easy. No offense to anybody who manages that way. It's really easy. Like
how many times have you heard too is people just say, just don't worry about it. Like, don't care about it. And I'm like,
dude,
because I'm a manager too, and it's just like
you can't, right?
It's so hard.
It's really,
like, before this, I was literally talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and you're like, man, you're stressed out. It's like,
it's awful.
It's tough, man.
Yeah,
it's really awful. And I tried every trick in the book.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what it feels like.
And you do, like, and you guys want to talk about that. I can help you through some of that stuff because a lot of things I did wrong, a lot of things I did right. Like, you almost had to like set a goal for a time frame. You know, and that's why, as much as you can, and my kids are funny. They bust my chops all the time because I'm always on them to save.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be, you got to save, you got to save, you got to save. And like, all right, Dad, all right. I'm like, but you do. You just have to. Like, something happened with my daughter recently. It's like their car broke down or they needed to, or no, they just bought a new car, but they had the down payment. Like, that's why you got to save, right? Because stuff's going to happen in your life that when you're doing well, when you have the opportunity, you got to save for that gray day because the gray day's coming.
It always comes. Yeah.
I mean, right? That's life. Like those are challenges that we're going to have, and it's not about money. It's about comfort. It's about doing the right thing. It's about being a good steward of what you're earning and what you're doing. Right? That's the way I looked at it. I felt so blessed that I fell into this industry in staffing. Like I was an English major in college. Like
Wow.
And my college professor, my junior year, said, "What do you want to do? You want to be a teacher?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to be a teacher." But you're only taking English. Well, I suck in math and science, so I took English. Right? He's like, "Well, did you ever think about going into sales?" I'm like, "Sales? What are you, out of your mind?" Because the first thing I thought I was like selling refrigerators at PC Richards.
Right.
Like that's how clueless I was. He goes, "No, you idiot. Working for a company selling their products or services." I'm like, he's like, "You speak well in class?" I'm like, "Okay." So I started taking marketing classes that summer. All of a sudden, I'm getting like A's and B's in all my classes. And I ended up with a marketing minor, and then he changed my life. Right. Clem Valletta changed my life.
You never forget. You never
literally
forget
did.
a teacher like that. Huh?
Absolutely. And I sent him a note when he was retired. I sent him a note. I found him and thanked him.
Wow.
I don't know if
I wish I had someone like that.
I just
no one ever asked me like, "What do you want to do?"
I just thought of mine, dude.
Dude,
this week I was thinking about Dr.
Really?
Elizabeth Stropel at the cafe.
wow.
I'm like, just a thought hit me from my left to my right. Yeah, I don't know. It was like, you got to reach out.
You hear
You got to call her.
That's the thing. Like, did you guys, before we came on, you said like, if you can reach one.
Oh, yeah.
If you can reach one. Like that teacher reached one.
Yeah.
You know?
What's more valuable than that? Like, speaking of service, you know, like it's easy to think of, we got to get more,
why do you want to do
many
this?
of.
You know?
When you can like hone in on, I just need to, I feel I need to do something for another person, but it's okay if it's just one. If it's just one and I walk away, like,
absolutely,
it's worth it. Or if I work 10 years, 15 years and we help one, it's then all this work and effort was worth it.
Yep.
You know what's funny is like when you ask someone like why you're doing something, the answer is so like, it could be a million answers. You know what I mean? Or you could keep going down the line, or some people say just money. You know what I mean? And should it be more than just one thing, or I don't know, you know, but it's interesting how far you can go with just why.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean?
And there is a practical piece of it of needing money.
Yeah.
Like that's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
This is where I struggle. I need your help.
And
with
I
this.
get that. I mean that. Like, so it's okay to make money.
Yeah. This is where I struggle, man.
I know, and I get that.
Yeah.
And I did too.
Yeah.
I really did. The way I grew up very humbly. My parents, almost money. My mom and dad were so funny. Like, oh God, I could talk about so much
I
stuff.
know, there's a lot here.
I'm so much here.
I love
like
this.
my parents were like, we never fought about money. Never, ever. I'm like, yeah, because we didn't have any.
Nothing to fight
There's
on.
nothing to fight over. We're never going to fight about money. That's awesome. Thanks, Mick and Peg.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything. But the best thing about it is my mother would say, it's like, we were poor, but who the heck knew? It's one of the most beautiful things she's ever said. And she said an expletive there. I said it kept it clean. Good old Irish lady, right? But that's what it was. Like, we didn't know any different. Like, my brothers and I shared one room. We had one dresser. Like, whoever got up first got the clothes. You know, like that's what it was like. It just was. But I didn't know any different.
Right.
Yeah.
The only time I knew different was when I went to college and I had my own dorm room with a roommate, and I had my own dresser and closet and bed. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is awesome. This is really great. But money was never emphasized.
Right.
It just never was. So then when I found this industry as the staffing field, I'm like, wow, you can do really well. It'll take a piece of you, but you can really do well if you can hang in. And once I started doing well, I'm like, well, I got to take care of this because this is probably not going to last, right? Just like, it's no way this is going to happen. So that's why I'm so into making sure that my kids understand the value of money. It's not everything by any means, but it's important and it's okay. It's okay to want it. It's okay to be successful in that. Yeah. It's not a bad thing.
Right.
As long as your heart doesn't change. And that's the hard part. Like I always talk about this. My boss when I first started in IT staffing, I was so grateful to God. Like this guy got it. He still worked the desk. He still was good. He was so generous. I'm like, oh my God, someone's looking out for me. But then as we started to do so well within the company, he changed. And the greed changed him. It changed him badly. And it became a very, very tough business and a very aggressive environment. And it was all about numbers and numbers and numbers. And, well, you can get more, you can get more. And I get it. I'm not soft. I mean, I did it. And I rose up and praise God, I did well. But try your best to not let it change you. And I feel very confident that it didn't change me in that regard.
Right.
But that struggle was really hard. It absolutely took a piece of me.
Yeah.
Took a piece of my health, 100%.
Wow.
But I still stuck it out. And I feel like if you ask people who worked for me or worked in my teams, they would probably say that I always ate the pressure first before it came down. You know what I mean? Because I just I felt like I became a good manager because it's kind of in my DNA, but I don't know if any of my other managers watch this, but I was managed so poorly in the industry that I'm like, I'm never doing that.
Right.
I'm never doing that.
Right.
I'm never doing that. And that helped me a lot. But don't beat yourself up for wanting to do well, bro. Yeah. You deserve it. You deserve it. Absolutely, you deserve it.
Oh man,
I know it's struggle.
It's tough.
It's hard, but
very tough.
Push through that crap.
Yeah. That's something I guess I could lean on you for because I don't
100%.
I don't think that it's hard for me to have a healthy relationship with wanting to succeed in my own venture and not losing selflessness and purpose. Like trying to mesh the two I think is a super difficult thing for me.
Yep, I get that.
I either go, I'm really excited about this business idea I have, and I just want this to grow and expand, and then we have 3 things, and then 4 films come out next year, and then
awesome.
We bank that into a new, and now the podcast is going. This is all exciting. It's hard for me not to go all the way into this road because I think I'm thinking ahead too much, and I'm like, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to turn an egomaniac. Yeah. I'm afraid of that. So I'd rather. I think my nature is to like humble myself, hold myself back, and then do something that's more of service in a small. There is no small service, but like in ways.
No, I totally get that, and I think what could help you in that is community. Right, and that's the one thing that I learned with going to the church. Like I go to a Bible study, dude.
Yeah.
Like I tell my friends that they're like, "What happened to you, O'Hagan? Where's Jim O'Hagan that I grew up with?" Like. And I'm like, there's no way. Like Catholic church, like go in, get your sit in the back row and sprint out. Right? I don't want to talk to anybody.
Right.
My wife's a social animal, so she always wants to talk to people. So, but this church, it really does that. And then we have a Bible study on Tuesday nights, and I look forward to going.
Yeah.
Because I can lean into like-minded people, right? Yeah. And now we're brothers for life, right?
That's
here,
right.
right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, like, there's wisdom in people that are older than you, who are good folks, right? That you can lean into because we've all been through stuff. We've all been through things that we can, impart wisdom on people because there's no agenda here. Yeah. Like my only agenda would be to want to help you.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
Right. And if you approach life that way in anything you do, it's so much easier to feel successful and be okay with it. Right, because you're not going after it to be like, oh, I want to stomp on this guy's face.
That's right. It's not a pride thing.
It's not that. And that's where I was in my business. Like the temptation to want to do that was there, and everybody else around me was doing that. But I'm not talking smack. I guess I am. But I was still the top sales guy. I was still the top. We still had the top office. Right. We had the best cultures in my offices. Right, until it didn't, until it kind of broke. Right, and then the greed just couldn't be controlled anymore, and it just went down a different path.
Right. I wanted to throw out there for what you were saying.
Yeah, man.
Is like you were talking about, what were you saying before? You were saying
struggling with the
self-desiring.
With
It's
success.
like it's almost like you're dialing back this like wanting to, give everything, and like it doesn't feel right to like, take.
Yeah.
But like it's almost like you only want to like give from yourself, but like you're not getting anything. And like you can't just be empty. Like you can't give forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's what you're saying is the community fills you, and then you're able to like have this ecosystem.
And the beautiful thing you just did is you kind of lovingly called him out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's good at that.
In a way.
But that's good. But that's what we need.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what we need, especially as men. Right? We need
Speak
that.
on this, dude.
We need that, bros. Right? We absolutely need that.
Talk about that.
It's something so important. Like when you have like-minded people who really care about you, and it's like my family, my brothers, my sisters. Like, I mean, I can talk to them about anything, but they'll call me on my BS. You know what I mean? In a loving way, not in a conflictory way. Like a lot of times people feel like, oh, it's going to be conflict. No, you don't have to make it conflict.
That's right.
Hey man, I'm really concerned about you. And that was beautiful what he just said.
Yeah.
And I can see that just from knowing him like I know him from coming into the shop.
Yeah.
Like you're always out and positive and wanting to do, like, it's okay to receive.
Yeah.
It really is. And I struggle with that too, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It really is. And you get what you earn in this life, right? You're going to hustle. You got to do stuff.
That's right.
That's the thing. Like, and if you earn and hustle, you deserve what comes from that.
That's right.
You really do.
That's right.
I mean, come on, right? Like that's,
and also like how much more can you do if you like earn, like, let's say even just monetarily. It's like, let's say like your whole life, I'm not talking down what we do, but like we do it for the one, and like we're doing this selfless thing where we're just giving and not really like, taking or like having a community.
Yeah.
And then what if we do, earn something, and then like we could help on a bigger scale or something.
Well,
like
that's
that.
what I think we agreed to this year. Was like, let's take the
Actually
shackles
try.
off ourselves and then see the weights off and see where we go.
It's so funny how it's like we're feeling, we're like, we can't like cross this line.
Imagine that. As young dudes, we were like, we cannot. We're sellouts if we
push it.
Yeah.
no way. F that. Seriously. You guys work hard. You deserve it. And this is a great country like that.
Yeah, exactly.
We can do that.
Yeah.
And it's funny. You guys are so funny. Before we come on there, I said, so what's your guys' goal? My thinking was like, how are you going to weaponize this?
Oh wow,
that's where my corporate head was going.
That's where we always.
That's what we need.
Try to like look away from.
But I was like, and you guys were so funny. You're like, we're doing
that's.
I mean, that's beautiful.
Laughed out of a business meeting in a second. With that, that kind of answer.
I can help you.
But I feel like that's Jim when he was in the office doing that stuff. It's like
absolutely.
Not lose ourselves.
Yeah, and you're good men. You won't lose yourself.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's. You know what?
That's the key. Your heart is pure. Your heart is good.
Accept that you're good, and that's really hard. I think
and
for me it is.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like I what did they have this thing called? What's it called? Oh, I want to say forget it. It's gone. Something syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Thank you. Right, where it's like, someone put a name on that recently. And I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I always work with like from like almost like an anxious standpoint.
Okay.
It's like the kind of wiring I have, but it's made me successful, but it's really challenging. But I'm like, nothing's going to fall through the cracks. I can't drop the ball. I got to do it. I got to stay on top of things, right? I got to make sure I'm producing, I'm providing. I'm like, that's kind of who I am. Right. But I was always fearing like someone's going to pull the rug out from me because I'm just still a shy kid from Hawthorne.
Right.
Like that's what I feel like even at 60 years old sometimes still. Right? So that's real. But don't let that get in the way of you driving for success. Because if your heart is pure and your agenda is clean, you deserve everything you can get.
Wow. I feel my heart changing, to be honest.
I'm totally serious. Like you deserve everything you get from that. If you're a dirtbag and you're just you're snaking stuff and you still might be successful because most of the guys I work with were that way, that's fine. I'm not working that way. I'm not. It's just not who I am. And that's where your faith comes in. That's how you're raised. Like all that stuff still factors in.
Yeah.
Really, really tightly.
Yeah.
But don't let that hesitate you, man, from just going out and crushing it and taking the world over.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. I guess if your heart's pure, it's like, then there's nothing to be worried about.
Yeah.
I said that to my daughter when she first started teaching. She was She teaches at Ridgewood High School. She's an English teacher at high school level. I was nervous of a 22-year-old kid, beautiful kid going in to teach like high school kids, right? And I say, Carly, when you go in there, if you have on like your first couple of days, because I would always say this when I became a manager to my teams, I'd be like, my only agenda here is to help you be the best you can be. That's it. I don't care about my bonus. Of course I do, but I'm not going to do anything to help you that the driver is benefiting me, right? So if you say that to your kids, your students, hopefully that sets a good pace of how you're going to adjust to things, right? And how you're going to manage the team. And that kids could still not necessarily hear it, and adults can seriously not hear it. But if you have that as kind of the bar as your leadership, then it's very easy to kind of call out stuff that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Right? Because your heart, my intention is only good with you guys, right? If suddenly you're coming at me aggressively, I'm like, whoa, where's that from?
Yeah.
Oh, I got nothing. Right?
Yeah,
my heart's clean.
Yeah.
Like to me, so that always made it, that was like my default for managing people was like, I'm only here for you.
Right.
So
yeah, I hear that. I'm not ever going to be a problem. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. If someone comes to me with that, But I feel like the thing I've noticed more is like, I don't think I've ever been, all these things you're saying, I've never experienced it in a workplace. Nothing. No one's ever, bosses, higher ups, never spoken to me like that.
It's a rare quality.
It is a rare.
It's
a pretty rare way of managing people.
It seems to happen often. More often, man. It's bad.
It'd be good. But I think that's a difficult thing about this life, this human, I think we're not needed anymore, right? Yeah. We were kicked out of the garden. So it's like now this place we're in is it's difficult. You get a lot of human nature, sometimes we develop the need for power and desires and things of the earth. Like we just want stuff. Yeah. We're trying to fill this hole, this God-sized hole, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And we can't quite fill it with these things, but we want more of them. So a person that's running a business can turn into very easily like someone who is trying to fill that hole still and then mismanaging people or being disrespectful because they're not looking at you as a human anymore. They're looking at you as a number or a product or whatever that needs to move. So it's just a difficult thing to find, someone who has a strong faith that's like, I want to take care of the people that I work with because the human is the priority. The spirit is the priority. That's where value lies, not in the number. The numbers come and go. They'll be there. And I bet you they'll be better if the spirits are higher.
Yep.
100%. But it's hard for people to see that.
Right.
Because I would always say people in our business, in my business, they used to manage by their wallet. It's like however thick it was that month would be the tension that would come.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny too. You try to take the positive from it, right? You learn from it, and when you're in that kind of role someday, you remember how terrible that felt to be managed that way, right? And then it's like I'm never going to do that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm soft either.
Right.
Yeah.
Like so that's like the tough line, right? Where it's like don't let my kindness be mistaken for weakness. Because again, to me, like we were saying, I'm really clear. I've been nothing but fair to you. I have no ill intention. My conscience is clear. What's going on?
Yes.
Okay. It's time for us to have a chat.
Yeah.
Because you're not holding up your side of the bargain and calling people out.
Right.
And to me, that makes it really clear and clean.
It's easy.
Because my heart is, I'm not, I have no other intention. But it's hard.
It's hard.
But, and the thing is, it's more work for us to manage that.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, I don't really care about that person.
Right.
And, working it through that way.
Right.
Yeah. It's crazy. That's exactly how I feel on my job. I do a lot of this like preventative, like I really try to just make it so like, I'm not going to like, I'm me. I'm like, I understand where you're at. Like, this is the situation. This is what you get from me. This is what this is the exchange. And like, I'm here for you if you need anything. And then like something happens and I hate the moment where you have to like.
Yeah, the confrontation's awful.
The confrontation, man. Yeah. Oh.
It's awful.
Oh.
No matter what. Like when you've ever had to fire anybody?
It never gets easier.
You ever had to fire anybody yet?
Not fire, but like evict, kick out, that kind of stuff.
Did you ever have to cut anybody's commission in half because the company wants more money in?
Jeez.
Oh.
Holy smokes.
Oh.
To godless people who will tear your throat out because you're doing it. Okay, but you can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it girds you. It prepares you for other things in life. It prepares you to be a parent.
Yeah.
It prepares you for other things that you got to have those tough conversations.
Yeah.
And I can help you with that stuff, brother, whenever you're there. Because I've unfortunately had to, you know, I can talk about other stuff too. Like I managed 2 offices after 9/11, and it was like the most really difficult time. We had an office in the city, right near Ground Zero, and I was working our office in Manhattan, in Woodbridge. So the guy who was managing our New York office lived in upstate New York, so he couldn't come in anymore. Just the commute was killing him. So they asked me to manage both offices. So I'm like, what, 35 years old, 34 years old, managing like 50 people. And literally half of the people I didn't hire. And then every time the phone rang, it was someone saying, Jim, we're going to throw you off the list unless you do X. And there's nothing you could do about it. And it was like, but by the same token, if I'm ever on an interview, right, I became a man that day. Right. I became a man in the business that day. So I feel very confident getting through that, that I could manage any sales team in any environment, in any business. Right. So that's, and I'm not being arrogant, that's just the truth. Like I'm very confident in that for the things that you learned. So trying to always make that into a positive of what kind of came out of it. Like that's the key to it. It's like, you know, when you call me coach, like I do interview coaching and career coaching and interview prep stuff. That's what I've been kind of doing as a bit of a side hustle lately. And those are the kind of things I try to teach people, where it's like, well, let's draw out your stories of your successes and challenges. That's great. But what did you learn from it? And what's the best thing that came out of it that now you can bring here? You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is really, really important to be able to kind of do that.
Can people, hire you for coaching?
How do we get in touch?
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you, guys. It's hagancareercoaching.com.
There we go.
And
check the description. It's going to be right there.
Link in the description.
I appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you guys for that.
Of course.
It's as I'm moving into retirement, like still the hustle is still there, you know? So I'm thinking like this could hopefully be another pipe for me that I'm doing. And I've done some stuff at Rutgers University, at Ramapo College, like going and do group presentations, trying to break back into my old staffing field, maybe helping people increase their sales and things like that. And my brain's on fire right now. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm really loving it and doing it. And it's going really well.
You found your passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
When did you become a man? You spoke about becoming a man in business. When would you say you became a man?
Wow.
I don't think we ever asked that yet.
That's a great question.
That's a good question.
You know, it's funny. My friends, if they're watching, they're going to bust my chops. But I was always kind of wired like old.
Okay.
My friends in high school would call me, "You're a miserable old hag," because my name's O'Hagan. So old hag is my one of my very many nicknames. But I think I was kind of always wired that way, like kind of like serious, and even I'm a fun guy. Don't get me wrong, but like I'm kind of a serious person. But I think when I really became a man was in college, because my brothers and I are really close in age. We're all like 18 months apart. Okay. So, and unfortunately, my dad got sick in high school when I was in high school. So and then it was time to move into college. So he had to take a less stressful job with much less pay. So there's no money left for us for college. So I had to pay for all my education. So it was the kind of thing where I had to pay for my rent. I had to pay for my, tuition, all that. So I worked really hard jobs in the summer and to pay for all that. And having to manage all that was like, because I wasn't going to call home for money because we didn't really have it. Yeah. So it's like, okay, it's on me. So I worked at a car wash. I worked at a restaurant. I worked on financial aid for the school, cutting the grass, shoveling the snow, all that stuff. My friends coming by, busting my chops about it. But I'm like, I got to do it. Yeah. And it made me a man. 100% made me a man. And believe me, that was my best interview story coming out of college to tell for a sales job. Oh, yeah. Right? So it's best, right? It's the best thing that came of it, right? I became a man then, and I hustled and I had to, and I got decent grades. I didn't get great grades, whatever. And but the multitasking and the ability to work under pressure and having to deliver, pay your rent and all that good stuff. That's when I became a man, I guess.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I feel like becoming a man, because it's not there's no definitive, like you and dad and your brothers are going to go walk into a forest together and we're going to be, we're going to kill a wolf and we're going to put the blood on our face and then like we're all men here, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There's no like ceremony really.
Yeah, it's true.
that like says like from this moment on, you're a man in our eyes, like and you feel different. So like we're all kind of as men in this society. It's like we're on this journey alone. Almost it feels like sometimes, and you could be a kid for a real long time, and it's I don't know. It takes like some kind of rug getting pulled out for most of us for us to find out who we are as men. You know, and like that's definitely my story too.
It's so interesting you say that because a lot of the folks, that I do my coaching with, the career coaching stuff, a lot of the parents will say that to me. You know, because the kids coming right out of college or whatever, it's like I can say something to them that probably their parents are saying, but they hear it differently.
That's right. That's right.
And I don't have the same sort of obviously skin in the game with them. I'm being more direct in certain ways. Like, all right, dude, you got to get your ass out of bed and get to work. It's time. It's time. Come on, you're out of college now. It's August. You graduated, in May.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Let's go.
Let's go. It's time, right? It's time to suck it up and get to work. And a lot of kids don't hear that well from their parents. They just don't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's time. It's time to get after it and get going.
And what in your opinion, Jim? What makes a man?
Owning your responsibilities.
That's spot on.
Owning your responsibilities, 100%. It's because if you do that, everything else kind of falls in line, right? Like, I'm a man. I need to take care of that. I have kids. I have to work.
Yeah.
I have a wife that I need to support. I love her to death. I got to do. And it's not like got to do out of obligation. It's like, it is kind of obligation, but it's my role.
That's right.
It's my job. It's my role to do that. And I think I've said this a bunch of times over the years. I'm like, what happened to the strong father? What happened to the strong man in our society? Where, my dad was tough as nails, but he was a man.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he loved us and all that. And then, I think the man's kind of been dumbed down a little bit in society. Every TV show you look at, the guy's an idiot. The father's a doofus. He is. Yeah. Right? Yeah. He just is. Like, there was a commercial on the other day. They're talking about like a larger SUV. I'm like, the father's sitting in the back seat. I said to my wife, I'm like, what the hell is that? This nerdy dad sitting in the back like this. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The dad should be driving. Right? I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on in the world?
Yes, dude.
Hey, Dad, you sit in the back.
Yeah. Pops, get in the back.
Hey, Dad. Okay. You want me in it. I wouldn't even
Dad would get pissed if you got sat in the back. Yeah, of course. I'd be so angry. He's like, I don't sit in the back.
If you even think it.
It's my car.
It's funny. I heard something on a reel the other day. It was hysterical. An older guy, comedian. He was like, the phone rings in my house and nobody answers it. When I was growing up, my father never got up to answer the phone. And he said, my son said, hey, why didn't you ask your dad to answer the phone? He goes, you mean my World War II vet Marine dad? I'm going to ask him to answer the phone. I tried that once.
Oh, man. Oh,
right? My dad, when the phone would ring, he wouldn't even move. And whatever was on the TV, we watched.
Yes. It was his call.
It's his call. We didn't have Flickr. Like we watched what Mick wanted. Right. It's that simple. Man. And I'm not saying that that's 100% right.
Right. Yeah. It's just what it was.
But it's what it was.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I think we're all a little soft now.
Yeah. I think the comfort is really taking a toll. Like just
the luxury, the comfort of everything.
Absolutely.
What was it? What's the term? It's hard times make hard people, and then soft times make soft people.
100%.
And I think you could say that in a lot of ways. Like you don't. I tried to tell him with boxing, and I took you to boxing a bunch. Mm-hmm. There's a point where you have.
Are you a boxer?
Now I am. It's like 3 years. I'm 3 years. I just celebrated my anniversary. Yeah, I think I'm going to do one amateur fight.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I think you should.
But it's that thing. It's like I want to test my mind. I want to know what, because my whole life I wasn't that.
It's awesome.
So I just want to know what I'm made of. But I think this thing we did that I took you to when I started training you, and Angelo, shout out Angelo. There's a point where Angelo would bring me to, and you start your first 2 months, and you're so out of shape. You don't know how to throw a punch. It's so aggravating, and you feel how mentally weak you are. It's not only physically weak. The hard part is the mentally weak part. And I didn't feel like a man. I felt like a boy, right? And,
Yep.
and I, you can act tough all you want, but when you get pushed to a limit,
You can't
and boxing's
jump rope anymore.
you can't jump rope. You can't throw your arm anymore. It's burning. Your mind is the first thing that goes and says, like, just stop.
Yep.
You can't do this. Like, that was what my mind would tell me constantly.
Yep.
And no one told me different growing up. So it's like, that's all I knew was like, I can't do this. I'd be the first one to tell you. And then you get broken enough times. And I think boxing is one of the best vessels for this because
gotta be tough as
there's no way around it. You're going to get broken.
Yeah.
But the one time you can cry, you can fall on the ground and all that, but there's a point where you choose the next action you take right after that.
Absolutely.
And it's either you get up or you throw one more punch. If you can do that and string along enough of those, like you build mental toughness.
100%.
And it's amazing that's like a skill you can develop, like a habit. You can change who you are as a person with mental toughness. Like, I didn't know that. And I don't know if toughness is the right word, but it's strength.
It's toughness.
Yeah.
And it's strength. It's all together. It's like, it's funny. Like with my coaching, I coach basketball and volleyball and a little bit of football back in the day. But I always say to my kids that I coach, I'm like, if I was at all successful in my life, it's because of sports.
Yes.
It's because of what I learned in sports.
Yes.
Like, and I played football when I was a little kid, and the coaches were probably more aggressive than they should have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Hawthorne.
Yeah, Hawthorne Bears.
Hawthorne Bears.
But we were the Cubs then.
Oh, the Cubs.
I remember I didn't box the end in one time, and the coach came up and smashed me in my helmet. I'm like 8 years old, and I'm like,
Man.
crying in my helmet. And I'm like, I didn't tell my father.
Yeah, right. That's right.
I didn't tell my father.
right.
I never didn't box the end in again.
Yeah.
I learned. Right? So, but by the same token, those things, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but no one's ever going to outwork me.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's why I did well in staffing, because it was just like, you just have to keep taking the punches. You got to keep moving forward. You can't quit. You got to keep going.
Yeah.
You got to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's all from playing sports.
Yeah.
And the friendships that you get from that, like I'm friends with guys. We get together at least once or twice a year. Guys that I literally know since first grade.
Wow.
Literally since first grade.
Wow.
We go down to my buddy has a beautiful house down the shore and in Spring Lake. And we just sit there and break balls and talk stuff about playing sports all our lives. And we're all like, reasonably successful 60-year-old men.
What do you think it is about that time that you go back to so much, like when you're with those people?
Oh, dude.
What is it about reminiscing about that?
It's everything. It's absolutely everything about having long-term friends.
Why is that so special?
I don't know why, but it just is. It's like, and it's funny, they always bust my chops because I'm kind of the glue.
Yeah.
They say it, not me, but because I'm the one that makes sure that we do it. Like we meet for March Madness. We watch basketball.
That's so cool.
You know what I'm saying?
Man.
We meet for March Madness. And so now it's funny, my buddy Lou, whose house we go to, he's like, yeah, this is O'Hagan's party. It's just at my house. So, but I'm like the dogged one.
Yeah.
And there's a selfish piece of it because I love it so much.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I love it so much. And they're my brothers. Like, I would step in front of a train for every one of them.
Yeah.
Every one of them in a heartbeat.
Wow.
I think they would for me, but I would definitely for them.
Wow.
And the friendships and the stuff that you build through suffering together. Like you said it perfectly.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't let my guys down.
Yeah.
I'm going to train in the summer in the heat at the track. I'm going to run and I'm going to do my push-ups and I'm going to lift weights and I'm going to do what needs to be done because they're going to depend on me.
That's right. That's right.
I'm never going to not do that. Right. So, and that's again, like that's the same stuff I try to teach people when they're going on an interview. What's more important than you getting this job today? Nothing. Would you go into a test or a sporting event or a season without training? This is your job, man.
Yeah.
Like,
This is
right?
the gig.
This is real time.
This is the show.
This is it. Yeah. So it's incredibly competitive out there. The markets are really tough. The next guy behind you wants your job. You got to go in there ready, prepared, and ready to go. And that was me as an athlete, doing that. And you don't lose that. I'm 60 years old. I still feel the same way.
Yeah.
Still feel the same way. Because the coaches I had as a kid and the teammates that we had, it makes such a difference in my life. Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go.
I wanted to ask about, because I can already tell just from speaking with you and who you are. I know you're a good father, most likely.
Oh, yeah.
Like I could tell.
Absolutely.
Easily. I'm sure anyone could.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask, how how does the way you like work, the ethic, everything translate to like raising children?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I see so many parallels with my father, and like even like what you were talking about your grandpa and everything is it's just like the sacrifices and just keep working and putting in the work, and you know, you have an obligation for your family and everything. Absolutely. And because I'm sure that for me it was tough hearing like the tough love and getting that, but like as you get older you're like, oh man, like
he was right.
He was right. 100%. Like all my friends, like I went to their house and I was like, dude, what is going on here? Yeah. Like there's cursing at their parent. I'm like, this is insane. Like I don't know what's going on. The house is a mess. I'm like, dude, this is, I don't know. So how has that been for you?
Well, it's interesting. One of the best compliments, remember my daughter, my oldest, who's the most outspoken and wonderful, but she was at her friend's house when she was a little kid, and her friend was really snotty to her mother. And she goes, don't talk to your mother like that. So, and her mother told my wife about it. So it's like a badge of honor for us. She was like 7.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate what you just said. And, what's a more important job than being a parent? Right. So I would take that piece so seriously. And, I dropped the ball sometimes where maybe I was a little too strong sometimes. I'll own that. My kids will say no, but I know I was. And I think a lot of that was the pressure I was under with having to provide and, feeling the stress of all that. But to me, there's nothing more important than that. And I said it, when we had our little first meeting out in front of the fine grind, and that's my father. My father made it incredibly crystal clear to our family every day how important my mother was in our family. Like, she is the most important person on the planet. Man. So you will not disrespect her. You will talk to her with class and dignity and hold her in high regard. And it's funny, like we have this silly little thing in our family that is carried over into all of us now. Like when my mom called us or my dad called us, we didn't say yeah, we said yes. And I know that sounds like nothing. But our neighbors, our friends, like if you talk to kids that we grew up, oh yeah, the O'Hagans, you had to say yes to them. Like, but that was like, it was like just a really important thing with that. So, I carried a lot of that into my life with my kids because I wanted them to be respectful. I want them to be successful. I want them to work hard. Like all those things, like family is the most important thing, right? We have this silly, thing we say in our house, our family is our fort, right?
Wow.
And a fort is a structure designed to repel attacks, right? So like I love that expression, right? And I have 3 daughters, right? And I remember when we would do like group things with other fathers and other kids, and the way that some of the other kids talk to their dads, my daughter would be like, Dad, can you hear the way they're talking to their fathers? I'm like, so we're getting through, right? And that doesn't mean you have to police it though. You have to be on them because they still will push back, but you have to hold like that brick wall at certain things. Like there's just things that are, ingrained in stone, right? You will not talk to your mother disrespectfully. You will not talk to me disrespectfully. You will be respectful and loving to your family, to your sisters. And that doesn't mean it happened all the time. Yeah. But when it did happen, they were corrected on it. And we talked about it. And again, it gets back to what we were talking about before. Do you just keep fighting or you give up?
Right.
Like there's many times like, all right, just go. But I'm like, no, I can't do it. Right. That's my kid. I have to do it. I have to hold her accountable for long term, that kind of stuff. So, and all in there is love in it, right? Yeah. It's only from a basis of love. So it would always be, if they ever did get sort of punished or whatever it would always be, it's because I love you so much that I want you to make sure that it's my job that you turn out to be the best you can be in your life. And that's why mom and dad hold you accountable to these things. That's why it's so important that you act with respect and that you work hard and you do all the right things. So really important.
You really say that to them?
Promise, 100%. Say it.
That's the communication, dude.
Clear
That's
as
so
day.
Important, I think.
Clear as day from when my daughter was 2 years old. I remember very specifically. She got really snotty at her birthday party. Someone gave her a gift and she's, I don't want that. I'm like, ooh. Took her out and I said, this is unacceptable. Like, of course, in context, nothing overly aggressive, but you do not speak to people like that ever. That's not going to happen. You're going to do it, but I'm going to correct you every time. And it's always wrapped in, because I love you so much, and it's my responsibility as your father to make sure you turn out to be the best you can be.
That's great.
And praise God, they're all doing really well.
Yeah.
And they love their heck out of their dad. It pisses my wife off a little bit. How much they love me. Cut that part out.
No, that's staying in. That's staying in. No, I'm just kidding.
Only kidding, Jude.
Man, that moved me a lot.
Oh, thanks,
That moved me a lot. Yeah.
No, it's and it's so good. Like, and again, I give it to my mom and dad. I really do. They really did a great job. And my brothers and I and my sister, when we were kids, my aunt went through divorce, and their family was kind of separated. And I'll never forget it. My brothers and my sister and I were just like sitting together and saying, "This is not going to happen to us. We're always going to be close. We're always going to be tight." I remember it like we were in like grammar school, high school. Like, this is not going to happen to us. So I think if you're intentional about the things that are really important to you, it can happen, right? Because if you own it as the father, as the leader, right? Which again, the father and leader has kind of been pushed to the back seat in the SUV, which it shouldn't be, right? The father needs to lead.
Yeah.
And it's not to get too crazy, but it's biblical too. The father's the head. He's the lead. He should own the interactions of the emotional parts of the family. And that part is gone. It's going away, but we rise up. We rise up.
I got so much to say on what you just said, man. I think we both do.
Yeah.
But are we good with time?
Are we okay?
I'm good.
We're an hour here, man.
All right.
I told you I was going to be chatty.
How quick, dude.
I know. No, we love that. Dude, I'm like, my heart's cut open right now. I feel amazing.
Love you.
There's like two things I want to talk about. That what you're saying about the father, how significant that role is, and how your father was such a strong father, and his father before him, and how it created family, and how family is our fort.
Yeah.
Like that. There's
Love that one.
There's so much intention and thought, care put into the actions of your father and your mother, and keeping that family strong. And when you don't come from that, it's just amazing to see. Like, I used to get mad. You know what I mean? I'd look at a family like yours, I'd be like, man, that pisses me off, to be honest with you.
I get it.
And now, like, from where I'm standing now, it's like, I'm always like fascinated, and like, that's my goal. It's like, that's what I want now. That's the kind of man I want to be. That's the intention I set. When I lost my grandfather last year, his whole goal was like, his whole life, he was a very flawed man, very flawed individual, and he didn't follow with action.
We all are.
Yeah, we all are. Sinner here. But he didn't spoke one thing, did another, and the family couldn't quite keep those bonds, and so things fray, and they fall apart with time, and then that trickles down for generations, like we were saying before. It does. And now I'm sitting there with pieces in my hands after my grandfather passed, and promising him things like on his deathbed, and I'm like, oh, I know who I am now. I know what my role is in this life for my family.
That's awesome.
And I want to build a real strong family like your family.
And you can do it.
Yeah, that fort. I want to build that fort. I do.
And it's so funny. It's like silly little triggers like that kind of keeps you online.
Yeah,
it really does. Like, okay, it's my kid. I have to take care of her. I have to make sure that they're the best they can be. So we all know what the right thing to do is, right?
Right. It's harder to do it.
We always know, but you always know.
Yes.
Right. In any situation, you know what the right thing to do is. But do you push through and do it? Yeah. Now, but to me, it's easy because that's my kid. That's my life. That's my blood. That's everything to me. Like, it's my responsibility to own that. So you said earlier, when is a man, right? When they own their responsibilities. And what's more important than that? Than making sure your kids turn out strong and good and healthy, right? In every way. Now, that doesn't mean my kids drove us nuts. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They did the normal stuff that kids did. But they were called out on it.
Yeah.
It's funny when kids bust us today. Like, if they're over our house and we'll say, Erica, can you come in here for a minute? And they're like, And they always used to bust they would say, so my wife and I would do our bills and stuff out in our sun porch. And we'd always say, hey, girls, can you come out here for a second? And they were like, they're bringing us to the sun porch.
The principal's office.
Something's wrong. Right? And again, like I don't want to say fear, but like there's a healthy fear is okay.
Yes.
It's respect.
Yes.
It's respect.
You need structure.
And you need structure.
You need it.
And I'm sorry, I want to say more about my dad. Like my dad, okay, he broke the chain. He broke it, okay? And I mean this sincerely, and no offense to the other side of the family. My dad was the middle son. His sister and his other brother, their families aren't as strong as ours. I'll say it that way, right? My father was raised by immigrants from Ireland. Like, when are you getting out of the house? What are you doing? My dad had to pay for his own high school to go to Cardinal Hayes High School. Like, he was a really good athlete. He didn't play because he had to pay for school and work, right? Right? Can you imagine that?
It's like my dad.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Exactly,
Same,
right? But my father, as flawed as he was, you said it, and it's totally true. He was a little impatient. He was a little scary, all that. But I understand that as a father now, having to provide and all that. So you give him some grace in that. But we always knew he loved us. Always knew he loved us. Like, never a question.
Yeah.
No matter how, whatever you felt, you always knew he loved you.
Yeah.
Always. So he broke that chain in the equation.
Wow.
With his family. So now my brothers and my sister, we are like, we're going to keep it going.
Yes.
So we huddle up with our kids regularly, make me promise that you're never going to let anything come between you guys, that you're always going to love one another, that you're always there for each other, no matter what. Even if you're 100% right, you stick with it and you keep fighting. My nieces and nephews are the closest that you can ever imagine. Like, literally they're cousins, but they're like brother and sister. Because it's what you teach them.
Yeah.
It literally is what you teach them. And, and it can be done.
Yeah.
So I love that you just said that, because if that's there, you know what? You're the new man that's going to happen. And then your legacy someday will be that, hey, Dave broke that chain.
Right.
Remember you sent me that
Beautiful
clip,
thing.
man, about breaking. Man, it's the same thing.
It's something about how it comes a point in every family's like lineage. There's always one that's meant to feel all the pain that hasn't been felt.
Wow.
And then with that, they do something different.
That's my dad. That's my dad. 100%. Because he could have very easily crawled up inside of it and been whatever. And he didn't. And I don't know where he got it from, because he had no example of it.
Right.
He literally had no example of it. Look at him. When he dated my mom, knew that she had a baby when she was 17.
Yeah.
He knew.
Yeah.
Never threw it in her face. Was pissed at everybody in Ireland for all the years because they didn't treat her right.
And think of that.
Was probably wanting to run over there and like hammer everybody.
Yeah.
He's a tough SOB. So, yeah, but he hung in there. I got to get you a copy of the book.
Oh, please, please.
I need to read that.
We'll promote it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get the sales going. Talk about sales. We'll get the sales going.
Yeah.
Do it, man.
On our little platform here.
It's a great book. So.
I have 2 more questions.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Of course.
Man, I have like 7, but I'm going to narrow down to 2. Of all the emotions you felt in your life, what is the emotion you think is the most important?
Love. 100%. It's biblical. It's everything, because if that place is there first, and being comfortable expressing it. Like, I think that's really important. And sometimes as men, it's like, you don't do that. I'm like, even now, like, the older I get, like, and my friends break my chops, I don't care. Like, I tell them I love them. I'm like, how many guys your age that, my age that, oh shit, we just lost somebody. He had a heart attack. He's gone.
Right. And then never said it.
Right. So I'm like, I want my friends to know how much I love them and I appreciate them and how important they are in my life. So I think that's really the most important to me. That's that emotion. And again, I give my parents the credit for that, because they had no problem telling you, I love you and I'm proud of you.
That's right.
I love you and I'm proud of you. It's
God.
It's incredible. I remember my dad, like, it would be like, I call him on whatever, as a grown man. It's like, proud of you, Jim. Great job. You know, he would have a couple things come to our house. We had a nice house in Cedar Grove. And he'd come, it's a good country, Jim. It's a nice house you got here. You're doing all right in this country. You know what I mean? Like the old school stuff like that. Like I'll never forget that. And I'm like, oh my dad.
Yeah.
Saying good shit. It's good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the best feeling. Like the power that we have as parents, to do right by our kids is, and wrong.
Yeah.
It's very, very tenuous. It really is. So default on the good. Default on the good, because your kids hear you. That's what I always say. In good and bad, they hear you. And even when they're angry at you, they still hear you and they know that it's love. Even though they want to, you know, throw a rock through the wall, they still know that you love them if you make it clear to them. So love is the key piece.
A whole new podcast topic to talk about, but I'm gonna hold on to it.
Okay.
Just talking about fathers, like hope, and I want your dad to say, you know, proud of you and this and that. So, but it's just important.
I've learned at Lighthouse, and we teach this to our young fathers that come in, because a lot of them really don't have the skill. It's like you're what do we say to them? I love you. You're really great at this, whatever that is, and I'm proud of you. 3 incredibly important things.
You're messing us up. No. I could tell.
But
it's doing something to us, dude.
Guys.
No,
but it's
doing something to us.
the truth.
It's a tough thing, man.
No, it is.
It's a tough thing for a man to tell their son, you know, proud of you, loves you. You know, it's a difficult thing.
Make it easy.
But it's so important for a young man to see where they come from. That they're superheroes. Say that to them, man.
Because that's the responsibility. They think you're their superhero, and you're just a human. You're just a flawed man.
Yeah, that's right.
You really are.
That's right.
And it's okay to tell your kids that you were wrong. It's okay to tell your kids that I dropped the ball on that. No problem with that.
Dad made a mistake.
Dad dropped the ball hard on that one, guys. I'm sorry. That was really bad of me, and I'm really sorry I made you feel that way. Like being open and being genuine with them is really, really.
Because if not, it's like a setup for a fall. It's 100%. I'm holding a front. This is the character I'm playing. I'm Superman.
Right.
Yeah. And then one day, your little boy gets old enough where he's like, "You're not Superman," and how dare you lie to me? I had to find out the hard way because you did this wrong and this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, and now I'm pissed.
Yep.
And so that fall happens, and then it's like it takes work to humanize your dad.
Absolutely.
And that's a whole process.
And you're right. You're absolutely right. And that could take a lot to fix and repair.
A lot of God time.
100%.
Big time. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Last question.
Okay.
For me. I might have one. It's a 2-parter. So it's maybe 2 questions. Okay. Jim, do you love yourself?
That's something I struggle with, honestly. I really do.
Me too.
Really?
I really struggle with that. Yeah.
Me too.
I really do. And I think it gets back to some of the things you said earlier, where it's like being a giver, but not necessarily feeling deserving back. It's something I'm praying about. It's something I struggle with a lot. I really do. I guess I do, but I can't just from, I do.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, sometimes in our sessions where I work, people were saying, well, you got to love yourself first. You got to love yourself first. Self-love, because you can't love yourself. You can't love anybody else. I'm like,
true. It's fucking true.
I don't know about that. I love plenty. It's probably my upbringing. It's probably the Catholic thing, whatever it is. But how did you know I struggle with that?
I struggle with it.
Jeez.
That's why I'm telling you. I felt something, man. I did. It's a tough thing. It's just a tough thing. It's a hard thing. But I think good on you for doing work on it. Yeah. Good on you for not just putting your hands and saying, I don't like myself, and that's just that. You don't.
I think that's just the word thing. Because when I saw you say I'm confident in this, then I see.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What quality about yourself are you proud of yourself for having?
One of my salespeople said to me one time, I'll never forget it. We had a sales call that we were on, and after we were having coffee talking about the briefing, and he said, "Oh, Hagan, I've never seen anybody build rapport as quickly as you do."
Oh, wow!
And I was like, "Wow, really?" That was something that really, really stuck with me.
You bring people together really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that's my mom.
Yeah.
my mom, I wish you guys could have met her. She was such a pisser. Like everyone loved her. Like people would come up to her and hug her, and she's like, oh, and she'd make them feel like $1 million.
Yeah.
And then she'd walk away and it's like, who the hell was that?
You have that, definitely. You have that, definitely. Well, he's the first time, I remember, I'll never forget the first time he said he loved me. And I was like,
yeah, that's weird.
no, it wasn't weird. I was
No, I do, but I'm
I
not.
was like,
I'm,
oh my
I think
God.
that's great.
I remember I walked back, I told Lisa right away, I was like, he said he loved me. I was like so moved, man, because it's like such a rare thing you don't get at work,
good,
you know?
man.
well, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and I felt it. It wasn't like a
No,
throwaway.
I'm not.
thing,
Yeah, I don't.
you know?
I throw it around a little, but it's not. It's
I do
real.
too. Yeah,
it's
it's
real.
real. Yeah.
It's comfortable for me to
I
say.
recognize it.
It's very comfortable for me to say, and that's my parents again. Like it's just, my my kids are bust around all the time, and now we have all my girls are married, and all their guys are a little like
They don't want the love.
they don't want the love. My son-in-law Joel, he's like, you people are nuts with how encouraging you are to each other. But it's really ridiculous sometimes. Like, I love you. Walk down, I come back, I love you. Like it's very prevalent in our family, and it's my parents.
I'm a fan.
God blame them.
I'm a fan.
I got a last question.
Go
ahead,
With
Mike.
the love, because like you're saying, it's like you know what love is. You know, like you got it from these people. And I think that's why it's so easy for you to be able to give it
100%.
and offer it. You know, but I think that's probably like a falling out of like society now. Is I think, I never understood like bad fathers. Like I know a bunch of bad fathers, and like I never understand because I'm like, if I have a kid, like I don't care if my life's over. Like everything's for my kid, and I understand that. But there's still bad fathers and still people that make the wrong choice and do the wrong thing. How do you think do you think it's because of they don't know, they never got love, or they don't know, or how can someone that isn't, I don't know, seeing that, how do they help themselves?
It's unfortunate, and I think that's one of the blessings that's come out of me working at Lighthouse to see that and to realize that. And the first couple of interactions I've had with some of our clients, I'm like, I am so blessed and so lucky that I had a family and parents who made a home filled with love. Right. And especially, again, the fathers, like the emphasis that fathers have in families is beyond more than we even realize. Yeah. It's actually a little stronger than the mom in a weird way. It's no offense to the mothers. It's just that the father figure in a family is so important. And that's what's so broken in the community that we serve at Lighthouse, because unfortunately, the fathers aren't around and they have no example. Yeah. They have no example to see it. So like some of the guys that I talk to, and I guess I become a bit of a pseudo father figure for them, which I love, and I try to do as best I can. And it's difficult sometimes to fathom what they're going through. Like, how can you not get that? Yeah. Like, how do you not understand? Like, how do you not get the fact that you need to get to work? And I don't care what you do, you got to be doing something. You can't be sitting on your butt all day. Oh, I don't want that kind of job. I don't want to do that. I don't want to work in a menial job. I want to do something meaningful. I'm like, well, meaningful work is working and providing for your family. But unfortunately, right, they never saw it, so they don't know it, and it's really difficult. So, like you saying that you don't understand good father, not being a good dad, you're blessed. Yeah. We're blessed in that. Like, that's such a gift to have that. So that's one of the things I've had to really sanctify myself on at work, is that because I'm like, I still have a corporate head. Okay, we did this, and this. Come on, man, where are the results? Like, what's going on? But like, you're trying to undo some cultural things that are just really difficult to understand. And it's, you guys said it earlier, trying to get the one. Like, that's our goal too, because it becomes overwhelming sometimes doing the counseling stuff. It's like, am I really having an effect on anybody? Because unfortunately, they keep making the same mistakes. They keep doing the same things. And it's like, you got to find that one that's going to hopefully change
your life.
Try to get them to be the,
chain breaker.
The chain breaker. Yeah. Exactly. And I think we're getting there. There's a couple of people that I'm hopeful, but again, like, it's not necessarily in our time, it's in God's time, right?
That's right.
So that might not happen for another generation yet, but hopefully I pray, and so I always prayed this when I coached kids too. Like, I always would say, I'm like, I hope the last thing you learn from me is how to play basketball or play volleyball. I literally hope that's the last thing that you learn from Coach O'Hagan. It's more about being a teammate and hustling and working hard and putting the team first, all those kind of things. And I pray someday that they hear me in their head when they're making a decision. Like that's the kind of stuff that's one of the many of the reasons why I love coaching is that.
Last question. How important is if someone hasn't found God, what would you say to that person? How important is that?
Talk to me.
Talk to Mike.
Be open to it, brother. Be open. That's one of the best things I learned with my new faith walk. It's okay to have questions. It's okay to have questions. And when I talk to people about my faith, I don't force anything. What I do is I tell them how it's affected me, where I've changed. I'm more patient. I'm more loving. Like it hit me hard with my turning point was we're in a Bible study and we're talking, I forget what we were talking about, but the whole thing was about how much God loves us and how patient he is with us and how much he knows how broken we are, but he still loves us. He's still patient with us. Like, wow, that's a huge thing. And it hit me in the face like a brick, or maybe like one of his punches, where I was like, how the hell am I impatient with my beautiful wife ever? Who am I to be impatient with this beautiful, wonderful girl that loves me for all the shit that I put her through? And I'm like, boom. And literally, and I mean, our relationship now, we've been together since 1983, dating and married. You're always going to have your bumps, but we're stronger now than we've ever been. And I think a lot of it is that we're both in this faith walk together. So be open to it and listen to it. We struggle with it with some people in our family. Like you just feel like you're fighting it. It's okay to have questions. I don't have all the answers by any means. Like, and there's still stuff that I'm like, oh, I don't know about that one. But I trust, I give it up to God, and I just keep moving forward and try to be the best person that I can be in that with, focus on him. My wife gave me a hard time when you asked me the question, what's the most important love? And I said her. She said, you should have said God.
See, you can never win.
I know, I can't win. So, and she said to me this morning, if he asks you again, you better say God. I don't know if I'm being completely truthful.
Yeah. I struggle with that one too.
Me too.
Yeah, I get it.
And it's a struggle, but it's just like some of the things I struggle with. Like, give it all up to God.
Yes.
Like, what's that mean?
Yes. What does that mean?
What's that mean?
Yeah.
Well, don't worry about anything. God's got you.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
How do you not?
Like, how do I not? I'm a worrier. I'm a worrier. But I've gotten better.
Yes.
And again, it's all a long journey.
Yeah.
It's not like an immediate fix.
Yeah.
It's like, and you're going to struggle. You're going to suffer. You're going to have ups and downs in your faith walk. And that's the best I could say in that, man.
Love it.
If you want to come to my church, come.
Oh, man.
Hey, come on now.
The invitation.
I got the invite.
Yep.
We
Come
got
to
the
my
invite.
church.
Dave's got to come with me, though.
I will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will.
Come sometime when my daughter's singing.
Done.
Oh, there we go.
I'm in.
It's funny, actually. I've never been like ever. I mean, maybe as a kid, I might have been like opposed because I think my parents put me in, and then obviously, I feel like as a kid, whatever your parents do or say is you're opposed. So that's how I felt. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
So, but as I've grown, I always had just like curious. I've never like denied I've always been open. It's just never. Now I say it just hasn't hit me yet.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
And that's in God's
and I've
timing
kind of
too, bro.
accepted that.
And that's in God's timing too.
Yeah.
And
The more I live, I'm like, it sounds pretty nice.
it's not a bad thing. It's not like getting in the ring with him. It's it's going and listening, and then just trying to let it seep in. And that's what I love about our pastor at our church. It's like he ties everything in. Oh, and the other thing too is like learning the Bible.
Oh, gosh, come on!
Holy smokes, dude! It's like because growing up Catholic, we never really learned the Bible.
Same.
We just didn't.
Same.
For whatever reason, I don't know why. But we missed out.
Yeah.
Like there's so much good stuff in there. Like just the history and what it means. Like and how it and then literally that book was written thousands and thousands of years ago. And it's the same stuff we deal with today.
That's right.
It's the same stuff. Greed,
it's the living
family
word,
issues.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
The good news.
Yeah,
it's happening now.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Yeah.
So
Well, Jim, thank you so much.
thank you guys. This was wonderful. I'm
Two more questions. No, I'm just kidding.
You can always come back.
What episode was this?
262.
262. Episode 262. Jim,
Thank
We
you.
love you, man.
Love you, man.
Thank you so much for
Thanks,
doing
man.
this.
Love you guys.
Guys, you want to
Love you,
support us? Patreon.com/You Were Here podcast. You can support us little, big, whatever you little, mostly little.
No,
but
don't say little. See, you got to
Shout out to Connor.
all right,
See?
big,
Come on.
big.
Shout out to
Support these
Connor.
guys. They're amazing.
Shout out to Connor. Thank you for joining the Patreon, bro. We
Yeah.
saw you. We love you. Thank you so much,
you so
for
much.
supporting us. We're bringing new content with the, Jim was on the first guest from the bench.
From the bench,
short
on the
episodes.
street.
You're the
clips.
first guest
People
from
loved
those
it.
clips, and
People
people went nuts for you.
Well,
I showed you.
That was really nice. Thank you for all those nice comments.
Yes.
We need more gym time. I was
See,
like,
we need more gym time. You got it. You got it. You asked and you received.
that almost felt as good as my
There we go.
building report quickly. Comment.
Well, Mike, any last words?
Dude, you know what? I just love all of you. I love everyone out there. And I hope you have a great, I don't know, day or whenever you're listening to this.
Yeah.
If you're feeling good.
Jim, any last words for whoever's listening?
I'm so grateful you guys gave me the opportunity to talk to you guys, and I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing. I really am. And if I can seriously help in any way,
Oh, man.
Thank you, brother. Well,
Thank
we love you. You're welcome back
Appreciate
anytime, dude.
Thank you.
Anytime.
My name's Mike.
go.
I'm signing out.
My
Bye.
name's Dave. I love you all. Please be kind to yourself. Please be kind to one another.
Thank you.
Boom.
Take care.
Now I gotta really do it. Dave, you have to. Don't look behind you. We're good. Yes! I don't want to look at